Good morning. Our opening words today are by Pema Chodron in her book, Comfortable with Uncertainty. We can never know what will happen to us next. We can try to control the uncontrollable by looking for security and predictability, always hoping to be comfortable and safe. But the truth is, we can never avoid uncertainty. This not knowing is part of the adventure. It is also what makes us afraid. I invite you into a time of meditation. Today, let's just take a little bit of time for a very simple breathing meditation. What we've learned is that in the psychology of breathing, or the physiology of breathing rather, that long, slow breaths, really long, slow out breaths tend to calm us. They tend to stimulate the vagus nerve and bring us into a place of relaxation and calm. So just take a big breath in and let it out with just a slight sigh. And another breath in and out with a sigh. And let's do this a few more times on our own, just to bring a sense of calm and tranquility. And let us return to this time and place.
Today's reading is Things to Do in the Belly of a Whale by Dan Abernathy. Measure the walls, count the ribs, notch the long days, look up for the blue sky through the spout. Make small fires with broken hulls of sailboats. Practice smoke signals. Call old friends and listen for echoes of distant voices. Organize your calendars. Dream of the beach. Look each way for the dim glow of light. Work on your report. Review each of life's 10 million choices. Endure moments of self-loathing. Find the evidence of those who, before you, destroyed it. Try to be quiet and listen for the sounds of gears and moving water. Listen for the sound of your heart. Be thankful that you are here, swallowed with all hope, where you can rest and wait. Be nostalgic. Think of all the things you did and could have done. Remember treading water in the center of the still night sea, your toes pointing again and again, down, down into the black depths.
A few years ago, Liz and I took a driving vacation, visiting friends and relatives in various states in the eastern U.S. One of our first stops, though, was to stay in a hermitage on the grounds of an Episcopal convent in southwest Ohio. Now, the hermitage was a small house designed to be quiet and contemplative. No TV, no internet, no telephone. But we had access to the offerings of the convent if we wanted. We could have meals with the nuns if we wanted. We could attend their daily mass if we liked. The hermitage was an ideal first stop for our travels, a chance to downshift, to find tranquility and ease for the rest of the trip. Plus, it was kind of fun to interact with the nuns. We took dinner with them. It was a feast day, and though the food that day was nothing special, they were allowed to talk. Normally they eat in silence. And it was ice cream night for them, a big deal. And they were glad to be sharing a variety of ice creams and toppings with us. Now, the idea of hermitage is an old one in many religions. Hindus and Buddhists have long gone into caves for isolated meditation. This still happens today. A Buddhist religious leader I followed when I was in Minnesota suddenly disappeared. And we learned that he'd gone off for a 6-month retreat in a mountain cave in the Himalayas. In the early Christian tradition, the desert fathers and mothers were hermits who lived, well, in desert isolation in Egypt. Their practices became the basis for monastic Christianity. Consequently, monasteries and convents occasionally were surrounded by hermitage houses, the dwellings of folks who wanted to live nearby but not within an organized religious community. That model continues today as some monasteries and convents offer hermitage houses for short-term rental for times of rest and retreat, as we did in Ohio. As we confront life with coronavirus, we are so aware of so much that we have to give up for a while. Social gatherings, restaurant meals, sports events, travel, visiting friends. It can be depressing, dwelling on the loss. Yet we might consider that we've been given a gift, the opportunity to explore the contemplative life as a modern-day hermit. Now, we can most certainly do other things in self-isolation. We can immerse ourselves in the TV news, or watch a lot of YouTubes, or reach out desperately to family, friends, old flames, even frenemies, anyone to be in touch. But instead, what if we, even for part of our days, tried to live as a modern-day hermit. No, not dressed in sackcloth with our hair growing out long and unkempt, but simply as people taking time in spiritual isolation. What might we do? Here are just a few things we might consider. The first thing we might do as modern-day hermits is to do something just for ourselves. Write, perhaps in a journal, just for yourself. Maybe make some music alone for yourself. Maybe draw or paint or create without any intention of showing your product to others. When we ourselves are the only audience, lots of pressure and judgment begins to fall away. If we like, we can consider that maybe we are directing our efforts towards some higher purpose or source. Maybe it's just developing our craft, or maybe something bigger. I mean, think of those monks and hermits praying and meditating. They may say they are attempting to please God or gain merit, but I would conclude that they do these activities primarily for the benefit of themselves. Now, the next thing you might do is to contemplate your own death. Yes, I'm serious, especially in these times. Both the Buddhists and the Jesuits encourage us to contemplate on our own death. The Buddha even encouraged his followers to go meditate in charnel grounds, places where bodies were left to decay. The Stoics also encourage us to reflect on what is the worst thing that could happen to us, which usually includes death. While contemplating our own death is not exactly an easy or fun activity, it can help alleviate our fears of death and help us to appreciate life all the more. I certainly have been noticing and feeling grateful for the little things in life. The jacaranda, the moon, a breeze, these little things, all because at other times I've been pondering my own death. A third thing might be to go inward, to ponder a sense of purpose or mission in this world. Look, the world has largely been put on hold right now, and it's really hard to predict what things will look like in a few months or in a year. But that's all outside stuff, and it's unknown. We have a gift of time to turn inward, to look at what we're called to do with the time we have left in our lives. What ignites our passion? Where might we be of service when the time is right? Dan Agarbati caught some of our Dan Agarbati caught some of our predicament as modern-day hermits in his poem, Things to Do in the Belly of a Whale. Once we get past all the time-filling activities, and once we deal with the life review and the self-loathing, we might find time for quiet, to listen to our hearts, to rest, and to wait. Now, I'm not sure if Alspaugh was contemplating the Hebrew story of Jonah and the whale when he wrote this poem, but it kind of fits. Now, like many stories in the Bible, the Jonah story is complicated. It's actually a parody, a put-down of certain conservative Jews of the time who believed that God would destroy their enemies. But putting all that aside, the story is about Jonah being called to go on a quest, to fulfill a purpose which he rejects. And consequently, he finds himself spending a few days in self-isolation in the belly of a giant fish. And so, as Alspaugh suggests, the time in isolation, the time in the belly of the whale, is really time to get clear, to think about what we might do with our futures. We need to get past those times when we were, I quote, treading water in the center of the still night sea, our toes pointing again down, down into the black depths. Because there is this. we will come out of this current coronavirus crisis, and our world will be changed. We are already seeing the birthing of these changes, and they could be good or bad. We need to be ready to play our part in creating a new world, a world better than the world before. We each have a calling in that new world, likely different from our calling in the old world. And now is the time, as modern day hermits, to discover what that calling is. Blessed be.
Let us extinguish our chalice with these words as we read them together. We extinguish the flame, but not the light of truth, or the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we keep in our hearts and share with the rest of the world.